Welcome to Toffee TV. It is the instant match reaction. Aston Villa 2, Everton 1. Sadly another defeat to start the season with. First time that's happened in, I think, 12 years. Just for a good sort of 18 minutes, we were nowhere near the level at all. We obviously started off with the same formation as last week, same front three, and pretty much we were toothless for 80 minutes. Didn't look like we had a goal in us or any creativity. We're trying to just keep them out, which we did quite successfully and looked comfortably for a while until obviously Ings' goal. Ings' goal, and then couldn't find a way back in it. The simple fact is we can't play that front three. It doesn't work. It doesn't give you a focal point. It doesn't give you someone to run, someone to hit, who's going to run. All three players want to drop back into the space and pick up the ball, and they're all just too lightweight. Damari Gray has got zero end product. Dwight McNeil just wants to get on his left foot, just gets all on his left foot and really hasn't got anywhere else to go. And Anthony Gordon likes falling over too much and is too lightweight. And they just don't give you any kind of focal point at all. And I think what the difference in this game was, what you saw late on, was even with Rondon, suddenly you've got someone to play off. And with Delhi, suddenly you've got someone who's going to run beyond the centre forward, and obviously Onana as well. But I'll come on to them in a minute. It's massively frustrating, and again, it's a game that we've lost by one goal. Obviously, they got the second goal, and obviously Onana, I think, he lost the ball in midfield, and he wanted to make amends for that straight away by a great ball into the box, and obviously we forced it in the last 10 minutes. We absolutely peppered their goal. Unfortunately, no real quality to force it in, but it shows you that for 80 minutes really we've been quite poor in that game, and yet we've nearly got out of it with a point. And there was lots of times last season when that was the same as well, where we're poor, but yet I've only ended up losing a game by a goal. And it's obviously, it's so obvious that what we need a centre forward, and we need someone who can come in straight away and can be on it straight away and can create opportunities for themselves and other players around them. And I think we've got enough in defence and enough, hopefully, in midfield where we can have a little bit more control in a game. Today was about playing on the counter attack, but we just couldn't with those front three. They've got nothing about them, absolutely nothing about them, and the manager has to recognise that now. That certainly for next week, he's got to start. If he hasn't already brought, I'd love to think that we can bring someone in by next week. But if he hasn't, for me, you just start Rondon and you let him play for an hour and you try and nick a goal and get yourself into a game. That's for next week. But for today, they're all similar kind of players, those three up front. But what they're not is centre forwards, and the difference, that was the difference in the teams today. They get a ball across the box and Ings does what Ings does because he's a centre forward. He's been doing that against Everton for ages. Excuse me. I mean, all round it was a pretty poor game. The conditions in terms of the heat and how far we are into the season, just the second game, are not ideal. That kind of heat is not what we're used to. And obviously that led to a lot of subs later on, and that led to the game being a bit frantic in the final moments. We've just got to find a way of playing. I can't really see any kind of patterns of play. And let's just hope that in the next couple of weeks with changes. We need changes, obviously. Onana's little cameo, even though we lost the ball for the goal, he just sort of went, right, I'm having this. Created the goal for us, nearly got a goal himself, was an absolute nuisance, breaking into their box. That you can see straight away what he's all about there. I know a lot of people will say, well, why didn't he bring him on when Decore went down? But maybe he didn't think he was fit enough. Maybe he didn't think he had enough about him. I kept on thinking in my head at that moment. I was thinking, I remember what happened to Gabaman when he came on against Crystal Palace when we had the Snyderland sending off. And on that day, I always remember thinking, why didn't Tom Davies come on? Because Gabaman was nowhere near the level. So I wasn't that bothered. I didn't actually think Tom Davies did that badly when he came on. He made some really good tackles. He doesn't give you anything going forward, but I thought he made some really good tackles. I thought Iwobi had a good game, although at times he was some poor passes. But certainly in the first half, I thought he was the only thing we had going for us, certainly creatively and breaking up the play. We've got to try and get the wing backs higher up the pitch. I thought Michalenko was poor today, although I thought on the other side Patterson did okay. It's dead obvious what we need. It's blindingly obvious what we need. We need a centre forward, and we can't be waiting on Dominic Calvert-Lewin to come back. And even when Dominic Calvert-Lewin comes back, we can't be relying on him. We absolutely need to get a centre forward in ASAP. And as I said, by next week, because that front three are just not good enough. They allow the back four to move up the pitch and squeeze you. That allows the midfield to squeeze you, and that allows them to play against the higher. Gordon, to me, I think he started the season shockingly. I know a lot of people don't want to wear that, but I think in both games he's been dreadful. I really do. You can sit here all you want and tell me how far he's run or how hard he's worked. I think he's been dreadful in both games. I think Gray, similar. I just think they've been absolutely dreadful. They just don't seem to have any awareness of what's going on the pitch. What I would say is, though, just before half-time, I think we should have had a penalty. I thought Mason Holgate was brought down in the box. I know it's not easy to see first time, but if you're watching, I know there's a video on Twitter going around. If you watch it again, it looks like the follow-through brought him down. I thought that was a penalty at 1-0 just before half-time. Obviously, we had the goal disallowed, which Golden was clearly offside. And it was just one of those days where, but that we've had sort of like two of those days where we're set up to defend it on the counter-attack, but you can't play on, these players are not good enough to play on the counter-attack, and the midfield doesn't want to go forward as much because it's trying to protect. So, for me, obviously Onana, I think will probably start next week now, because if the Decore's got an injury, any kind of injury, that is going to mean he's going to be out. Another injury, but we've got to get a centre forward in or play Rondon, because even Rondon showed more to me in those 15 minutes that he was on than the other three did in the entire game. I thought at the back we looked pretty solid. Of course, Connor Cody and Tarkowski are going to struggle a little bit with movement, but I thought he did okay. I thought Mason Holgate was fine. But we need to take the pressure off them by not allowing teams to just play in our half all the time and try and hit them on the counter-attack. I'll be honest, I was shocked that he started with those three up front. I just didn't get it at all. I didn't get it. I don't think they offered anything last week, and I don't think they offered anything today. And I'd be scathing of Lampard if he played those three next week. Absolutely scathing. Because they were dreadful. Let's be honest. Let's not sugarcoat it. The three of them were dreadful today. Absolutely dreadful. And when you've got three players who were just like running around, not really doing anything. I mean, a lot of people in the comments, I can see that, talking about Dwight McNeil. I still don't quite understand why we brought him. Not really sure at all. Not really sure, quite understanding what his position is yet, or what he's... I know it's not easy for him because he's playing with no centre-forward either. He's the kind of lad, I think, who needs a centre-forward on the pitch to play off as well. So that's hard for them. So the mad thing is, we were pretty poor in large spells of that game, and yeah, Villa were hanging on at the end, and that has to give you some kind of sense of hope that if we bring in the right players, or we start the right players, that we might start having an opportunity. But I think Frank Lampard's got to have a real sit down and have a look at what he's got available to him and how he starts using it, because I just didn't think today was the case, and we'll have to move on. It just doesn't work for a team like Everton. We're not good enough to play false number 9s and all this nonsense. We're just not good enough. We don't keep the ball. Simple as that. We don't have enough players who keep the ball long enough to get into those areas. And when we lose the ball, I mean, both goals come from... I mean, the second goal comes from us losing the ball. The first goal comes from Decore not tracking his runner, really. And defenders not being quicker to get out to wing. But that midfield, obviously, hopefully it's going to get a little jolt in the next week with Onana, and maybe one more if they can get Garner over the line. We'll have to wait and see. But that, yeah... Villa were... don't get me wrong, I'm not sitting here going, oh, we were boxed today because Villa were hanging on. But Villa were hanging on at the end, let's be honest. They were hanging on. And if we could get a centre-forward or two, so we're not panicking, it would make a massive difference. But everyone knows that. I think everybody knows that. Everyone's aware of that. It's not rocket science. You need a centre-forward. I looked at Ramsey for them, and the way he was stretching us, just picking up the ball and running and stretching us. I don't think we don't have players who do that, because Gordon is too soft and goes down, if you brush his hair, and Damari Gray just seems to run into the wrong places for me. They're not effective. They don't run at people in the right way, and they don't pin people back. And it was so noticeable when Rondon come on. It was so noticeable how the ball was starting to stick and how he was getting flick-ons, or he wasn't allowing the centre-forward. I know people don't like Rondon, but that's what a proper centre-forward does. And to have another one like him, it's what Dom does. And to have another one, it's absolutely key now we go and get one this week. And that, whether that's a loan, or... I know people don't like the idea of someone like Che Adams, but he is someone that can run at defenders and commit people and bring other people into the game, and that's what it's all about. That's definitely what it's all about. You saw that with them today. That allows other people then to come up. Whereas for us today, every time the ball got forward and one of them lost it, then it just came back every time, and then you're under pressure then because you're trying to squeeze up the pitch. So yeah, it's one of those. It's been a tough start to the season. We've got Forest next week. That won't be easy. They've bought every player on the earth. We'll just have to wait and see. But yeah, I can see. I'm not going to go overboard because we've got just under 3 weeks to the transfer window, and I think if Everton bring in the right players in those 3 weeks, or less than 3 weeks, I think we'd be all right. But if we were to play with that team for a majority of the season, we'd be in big trouble. It's as simple as that. Doesn't score goals. It doesn't have goals in it. That team does not have goals in it. So if we can bring players in, then and by the way, that has to be in the next couple of weeks. Can't let games go past you by and go, oh, it's all right, we're going to buy players next week, or we're going to buy players the week after. You can't let games go on. Everton have got to be quick about this, and they've got to be assertive about this. Bring the players in. I imagine Onana will start next week now after his little cameo today. And I love to. I'll talk more about the individual players more in the player ratings, but I imagine he will, and Everton will have to make a change in terms of the centre-forward situation. They cannot play with that front three. It was shocking, and it was poor from... I've no issue in saying it was poor from Frank Lampard. At starting line-up today, that three, you're asking for trouble, and you got trouble. From what isn't a particularly good Aston Villa side, by the way. There wasn't a very good Aston Villa side. That's not a particularly good Aston Villa side. Let me just say that. Corners, we never scored from a corner. Jesus Christ. They were all over the place on corners. And yeah, towards the end of the game, he started floating them in. I mean, we've got a corner in injury time, and Gordon just floats it in. Jesus Christ. Put a bit of venom on it. Hit it low and put a bit of venom on it. And see what happens. But, yeah. 2 games, 2 defeats. I know on the outside a lot of people will be... Well, I know a lot of people on the inside will be pressing the panic button. But let's not press the panic button just yet. Let's wait till the end of the transfer window before we press the panic button. No, goals. It's all about goals now. It's all about goals. It's all about bringing in goals. I'm not bothered if willing to... if willing to display in that player and they're great, amazing. They don't have goals. They don't score goals, or they don't create chances, or create the opportunities to create chances. Then it's pointless. It's pointless. This squad needs goals. It needs goals. Goals win points. Points get you up the table. It's as simple as that. So I will leave it there for this instant match reaction. I'll be back to do the player ratings just in a little bit. Make sure to check that out, and also Baz's videos when he's got them sorted as well. So thanks for watching. Make sure to give this video a like, subscribe if you haven't already. If you want more great videos, join us over on Toffee TV Premier. See you later.